I've seen enormous transformation in our markets and in the innovation around billing. During that era of subscription-only service offerings, we found that there was a segment of the marketplace that didn't neatly fit in 3 or 4 or 5 different plan categories, as an example. So I think they were leaving some money on the table by not being able to fine-tune and being a little bit more granular and personalize the pricing model, so that there's this whole shift from ownership to access. And customers that might not find value within those particular pricing tiers will be left out. And I think over time they started to realize that if we created more of a usage-based focus, we can access a larger market share. And we can also be more flexible with customer budgets. We're seeing increased value to both sides of the equation. Greater net dollar retention, shorter cost to acquire a customer, shorter time to payback, tremendous amount of benefits from a usage-based model. Now, it doesn't solve every problem, and there are some customers that have such high variability in terms of how they use services that they may be reluctant because they don't want to get bill shock. So there's this movement towards greater transparency for them, because you're avoiding bill shock at the end. Oh, by the way, you didn't meet your threshold. We're charging you an extra, based on our agreement, we're charging you an extra X amount of dollars because you didn't meet that threshold. And guess what happens? They get frustrated. Well, what did we use? How did we use this? And having contract enforcement benefits both sides of the story. When you reach out to your customer with an invoice, there's generally 2 people or 3 that interact with that invoice. One is the CFO and the accounting office or accounts payable, but they don't really know what has transpired and what transactions have been going through there and why was it necessary in order for us to have this spend. And as a result, they can make better decisions. They can make better decisions on their usage, they can make better decisions on their spend, they can find ways to save money based on things that they may not need within the platform, but they can also discover new features and capabilities and then plan accordingly for that additional usage. So there's a number of different benefits. I think the most important thing is intense and much more effective visibility in terms of how you're consuming a service. And that mindset has now become more mainstream. I think there's something like 46% of SaaS-based businesses and service-based digital businesses have moved to a usage-based model. So there's still tremendous room for growth. The trick is how do you make that transition effectively? Typically, when you first start out your business, billing is an afterthought, and it's traditionally been that way because you're just focused on getting the product out to customer, you're focused on top-line revenue, so that you kind of, in some cases, hobble together a simple system in order to meet immediate demand. But as you grow and you become successful and product market fit starts to work and you're gaining market share, the problem with revenue leakage compounds and multiplies. And the longer you wait, the bigger of a problem it is to tackle. When customers are buying a service or a product, they're trying to solve a problem. And we think that a usage-based approach gives you better insight on what those problems might be. And if you can anticipate what those bigger problems are through their consumption of your platform and your services, you can get greater insight in order to provide them with more value. And customers are willing to pay for value if the value is objective, if the value is clear, and if it's priced fairly. Where we're headed in the next 5 to 10 years is, this conversation has been around, is outcome-based pricing and value-based pricing, and it's performance selling now, where you are confident enough that the value that your platform provides is going to create an objective and demonstrable value to your customer. And that's the fundamental basis of everything around usage, is pay for what you use. And that's a very compelling story to organizations that are fine-tuning their finances and fine-tuning their budgets and their spend, because they recognize that if it sits idle, it's just wasted investment.